Hello there. So, Keir Starmer, far from stopping the use of expensive hotels for asylum seekers, is being forced to continue to house migrants in those hotels for another 3 years at a cost of nearly 5 million quid a day. Well, there's another Labour pledge trashed on the fire of reality. Keir Starmer berated the last government for using hotels to house asylum seekers and said, rather simplistically, that he would smash the people trafficking gangs and ban the use of hotels. But now that he and his team are in office and reality has bitten them rather hard, out comes the claim from an insider that his government will have to continue to use hotels to house asylum seekers for at least another 3 years at a cost of nearly 5 million smackaroons a day, which without inflation equates to a total of about 5,475 million quid in all. It seems Labour cannot check them out of Hotel California. Maybe our grand leader takes the view that he shouldn't be the only one benefiting from the UK freebie culture. And now we see how weak Labour is on the international stage as it announces it is giving up sovereignty over the strategically important Chagos Islands, or British Indian Ocean Territory, and handing them over to Mauritius. The hand of Lammy at work. Where next? Falklands? Gibraltar? Anyway, according to reports, it has dawned on the Labour government that maybe more was being done under the Tories to address this asylum seeker issue than they appreciated. So they've been left with a backlog issue that is going to cause them more headaches than their initial superficial understanding of the issue led them to think. And that does not excuse the Tories, because they, just like Keir Starmer and his Home Secretary Yvette Cooper do today, insisted on working within the stifling parameters of the European Convention on Human Rights and Tony Blair's Human Rights Act. Now, according to the Times, our illustrious leader had been expected to close the last of the asylum seeker hotels within a year of coming to power. But that now looks closer to 4 years, if they ever do. Those government contractors running this hotel scam must be cock-a-hoop, as will be the hotel owners. But maybe not their long-gone redundant staff, or the local businesses that rely on a thriving and standard local hotel business. All down to a backlog of 87,217 claims and another 137,525 cases awaiting the outcomes of appeals or pending deportations. Then there's the matter of another 25,000 having arrived on our beaches so far this year. Nearly 11,000 of them on Starmer and Cooper's watch. I wonder how our wonderful Deputy Prime Minister, Angela Rayner, is getting on with her 1.5 million new houses in every corner of the country pledge to help house all those newcomers. We'll get shovels in the ground, cranes in the sky, and build the next generation of Labour new towns, claimed Keir Starmer at the Labour 2023 party conference. Maybe failing on that will drive hotel use even higher. After all, it's not like the pull factors that attract so many of them to the UK are being reduced, is it? Anyway, fear not, because Keir Starmer is off to Brussels to reset our Brexit relationship with the European Union. Yes, he's off to convince the Eurocrats that the Brexit deal should be changed to make it work better. Having already been told in no uncertain terms that there will be no cherry-picking of EU benefits by Britain. In fact, I hear that the UK will be expected to reopen its fishing waters to the EU, and accept 30,000 asylum seekers from the EU into the UK every year. The EU also wants to force freedom of movement for the under-30s on us, presumably in the hope that a future referendum will bring the UK back under the full control of Brussels and its dream of a European empire. But it would be a plan that flies in the face of an electorate wish and the Labour pledge to see a reduction of inward migration, something that Yvette Cooper seems to have hoisted in, according to the Express. Although I'm sure that inner party pressure will be on Keir Starmer to accept such an EU freedom of movement proposal in order to further their attempts to reverse Brexit. And according to that Express report, senior European politicians have made it clear that without the scheme, the rest of the negotiations are pointless. They really do want to see a return to the good old days of lording it over Treasure Island, UK, don't they? Anyway, where is this extra uncosted £5.5 billion for hotels going to come from? Yes, uncosted, as it was unexpected. Over 3 years, that equates to more than paying 10 million pensioners' annual winter heating allowance. Is this why we've been hearing of late that there are plans to stop the single-person 25% council tax reduction? With the latest wheeze being to take it out of the hands of the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves, in central government, and pass a law that allows individual councils to decide whether or not they want to allow that 25% reduction. That way Keir's government can wash its hands and say it was nothing to do with them. Bet they'd wish they'd engineered the same outcome with the winter fuel allowance. Such a policy could hit up to 8.5 million people living alone, 4 million of whom are pensioners, with the IFS saying it would raise about £3 billion for the Treasury coffers. Oh well, that'll pay for a few more hotels, won't it? But will it pay for the new water and sewage works for the Labour new towns I've just talked about? And the electricity infrastructure, the fire stations, hospitals, schools and shops? And will the rest of us have to suffer even more as all those added houses and associated infrastructure drive our carbon emissions ever upwards? How much financial pain and scarce energy will we have to endure to make all that come true? Right now, all I see is a government machine that is intent on fleecing taxpayers and especially pensioners in order to feather the nests of unions, net zero oligarchs and our newcomers. Everything for me points to that one conclusion. Because the only message coming out of government is that it's going to be pain all the way for the rest of us. Do they really think this is a sustainable path to go down? This last Tory lot were dispatched for not listening to the people that voted for them and paid the bills. And this Labour lot are following those same policies. The only immovables in both their approaches were A, net zero, and B, open borders. And everything else was on the table to be scrapped or amended in order to facilitate the A and B above. With the major problem being that A and B are getting more and more expensive, while stuff like a lack of cheap energy screws up our economy to the point we will no longer be able to keep up with the rising costs of net zero and open borders. But guess what? Our electorate will still vote for the same buffoons who are led by the nose by the same big corporate interests and the same net zero fundamentalists and open borders fanatics within our own civil service, quangos and non-governmental organisations. Unless we all do our bit to take the message to those who have not yet listened.